Joining us for Newsmakers on this Sunday is Senior White House Advisor David Axelrod, and here with the questioning is Jerry Seib of the Wall Street Journal and Ann Kornblut of the Washington Post. Thanks for being with us. Let me begin by asking you to respond to Senator Cornyn. As you know, twice within the last week, the President meeting with House Republicans and Senate Democrats. Senator Cornyn said, "We'd like to have the President. We don't want it on camera."
Well, look, we want to have a dialogue with members of both parties here, and we'll do it as we can. I think there was something valuable about the exchange that the President had, both with the House Republican caucus and with the Democratic Senate caucus this week. I thought they were good exchanges, and I think it's valuable for the public to see those exchanges. They were open and honest. But if the Senate Republicans don't want to do that, the President's not going to talk to them because they don't want to do it in public.
He said, and these are his words, "Is this a photo op or is this serious?"
I think most people who watched those exchanges thought that they were quite serious. I think they were substantive, and they were valuable. So, you know, I think they were very positive.
Ann Kornblut.
During the President's exchange with the House Republicans, he had some kind words for Congressman Paul Ryan, said he wanted to work with him. Immediately afterwards, the House Democrats attacked what Paul Ryan had talked about, and we've seen some Republican objections too. What does that do to the attempt at bipartisanship?
Well, look, Ann, there's going to be back and forth about ideas. We shouldn't be afraid to advance ideas. We should discuss them. One of the things the President was saying is, bring me your ideas and let's debate and discuss them, and as I bring you mine and we debate and discuss mine. I think that's what people want. But there is no doubt that this is a tough environment in which to govern. And I think one of the things that frustrate people about Washington generally is that sport is made of serious things. These are very serious times. And there is this sense out in the country that people here are more concerned about winning elections and perpetuating themselves in power than solving problems. And I think they recognize in these times that's a very dangerous thing. We've got so many challenges right now. They've sensed them in their own lives. So we want honest dialogue. The President is more than willing to accept ideas from wherever they come that are good ideas. It is in that spirit that he's talked to both Republicans and Democrats. In the last week, he's going to be bringing people together in a bipartisan meeting at the beginning of next week around the jobs issue. You know, we're going to continue to try and penetrate this very, very difficult environment.
Let me ask you about that same difficult environment. Senator Shelby has put a number of presidential nominations, on hold over a project in his state. What does that do, again, to this effort, and what is the White House response to that?
Well, look, I think this is a prime example of what I'm talking about. Let's just talk about a little history about the last year. In the last year, there have been more filibusters on the part of the Republican Party, more filibusters in the United States Senate than there were from the year 1919, I think, to the year 1970, in 1 year. And oftentimes the bills that were being filibustered were bills that everybody agreed on, or appointments that everybody agreed on. We saw a GSA director confirmed last week by overwhelming numbers, and yet her nomination was on hold for 6 months. This is a person who's going to run the physical operations of the government. There's no excuse for that. There are the filibusters there for principled objection. It's not there for delay and mischief, and that's what we've seen. And certainly when a senator puts all the appointments of the President on hold because he wants an earmark in his state, that is not in the interest of either his state or the country, and it's disappointing. These are the things we have to overcome, and we're going to work hard to shine a bright light on all of that and ask people to do what they were brought here to do, what they were sent here to do, which is to govern and solve problems.
Let's turn to the real economy and outside of Washington. The latest unemployment numbers that came out at the end of the week showed the rate fell to 9.7% from 10%. Fairly good news, moderately good news, but the economy still lost 22,000 jobs. So clearly there's still a jobs issue, and it's a serious one. Raises the question of what can and will be done in this town about it in the near term. prospects for a job bill. Will there be one? How long will it take? And what do you want to have in it? And what do you not want to have in a jobs bill?
Well, first of all, Jerry, you're right. The numbers were mildly encouraging. There's no doubt that the direction is the right direction. When we came to office, the country was losing 750,000 jobs a month on the average. That's changed dramatically. As you point out, about 20,000 in the last month. Actually, November, we actually gained jobs, and that's the way it's going to be for a while. But we're moving in the right direction. One of the most heartening things about it was that manufacturing jobs were up for the first time in 3 years, largely because of the automobile industry and the parts associated with it, which reflects some of the decisions that the President made earlier in the year. In terms of where we go from now, we are working toward a jobs bill. The President's laid out his priorities for that, which is help for small businesses in terms of tax credits, and also additional lending. And so that's one piece that I'm hopeful will move quickly. We want to see additional investments in infrastructure and rebuilding roads and bridges and railways and the physical plant of this country. That puts people to work and leaves a lasting footprint. And finally, we are committed to energy, investments in clean energy projects, in conservation, in things that will make us stronger, but also put people to work and help with energy independence, and obviously help with the environmental challenges that we have. These remain our fundamental commitments, and I think that there is receptivity to that in the Congress. I expect the Senate will move this week on a jobs package. I'm hoping that it will be on a bipartisan basis.
Let me ask you about another idea that's on the table, in a bipartisan idea. Senator Schumer and Senator Hatch have proposed a payroll tax holiday, which would have the effect of putting some bucks in people's pockets and on the cash register right away, potentially. Administration in favor of that? Could you live with that? Do you not like the idea?
Well, we've discussed a similar idea. The notion is that we are right on the cusp of hiring growing in this country. You've seen productivity at record highs, people hiring large numbers of temporary workers, and that's generally a prelude to hiring. The notion is if you give people a little added incentive and they might make that decision 6 months or a year from now, maybe this will encourage them to do it now. So we are receptive to that idea.
The other issue concern is that with the deficit spending that we could see, not short-term but long-term, runaway inflation. Does that worry you?
Well, obviously, you always have to. These are concerns for the future. Right now, that's not our concern. Right now, our concern is that we still have a fragile economy. We have real growth, but it's not yet translated into job growth. And the worst thing that we could do is be stinting in our recovery efforts. Now, we've seen in history what happens when you do that in Japan. A couple of decades ago, and in the United States during the Great Depression. So we're going to be very careful. We want to deal with the deficits, and we've put forward a budget that speaks to it and proposals that speak to it, including pay-as-you-go financing, which was reinstated this week at the President's urging. That will be helpful. But we also have to be mindful that we have to get people working again.
So you say that you want the jobs bill, the Senate will maybe take up the jobs bill in the next few days. How quickly after the jobs bill should Congress return to the health care bill?
Well, we quickly. I think that we want to move rapidly on that. The President feels as great a sense of urgency as ever about this, and his sense of urgency has been made even more acute by figures that were released just the last week that showed enormous increases as a proportion of the economy in healthcare spending just in the last year. In the last week in California, Blue Cross Blue Shield announced a 39% rate increase for people in the individual insurance market. These problems are just going to get worse. The burden that they place on families, businesses, and the budget overall are just going to get worse. The American people don't want us to walk away from this problem. The President's not going to walk away from this problem.
But how's this going to work? He said last week that he wanted Republicans and Democrats to come together. Is he going to do that? How's this actually, if it didn't work over the last 6 to 8 months, why is it going to work now?
Well, first of all, I think everybody has to recognize that the message, if they read the message of the American people that we should walk away from this problem and leave them to the tender mercies of the health insurance industry and higher and higher rate increases. I think they're misreading the mood of the American people. The president has been working with leaders of his own party to try and reconcile differences between the House and Senate. And he also wants to hear what Republican ideas are. And in the next few weeks, you'll see a process whereby Democrats and Republicans come together. We have a discussion about it. But then we want to move forward.
But there have been some people in your own party who have been saying to the White House essentially, look, you have to tell us how you want this process to unfold. You yourself heard it, I think, from Senator Frank in the last few days.
We had a very good exchange.
Frank exchange, as they say, at the State Department. So the question they're asking is, we need the president. Why doesn't the president come forth and say, here's how we get from the 5-yard line, which is where you say the bill is, across the finish line? Why are you leaving it to us?
I think we had a very good exchange. As I said, he expressed